this is the perfect time, you know. Well, that's kind of a lie.
When you're home with your family?
Hot girl summer would have been the perfect time. Hey, everyone.
It's time for hot girl autumn.
I think hot girl autumn is a thing.
I think it is.
Okay,
no,
that's
tall
what we're doing.
boots, short skirts. We're doing it.
Hot girl autumn, okay? Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to Real Pod for an episode that I've been wanting to record for the longest time, but also have been like putting it off because I wanted to say everything that I'm feeling and I want it to be a good episode. It's so funny. So I've recorded this actually twice. I've literally come into the studio and recorded the full episode and then listened back to it and been like, no, I hate it, and like trashed it. And then I was like, let me try to record it at home in my office and maybe I'll feel a little less pressure and I won't be as stiff. And then I also didn't like that one. And so then I just kind of like kicked it to the side for a bit. But now it is resurfacing and coming back. It's so funny. I was actually sparked by seeing Olivia Rodrigo's performance at the VMAs, and she was serving so much cleave. And I was like, you look so hot, good for you. And also like, wait, Googling how old is she? And being like, I can't believe, I know it's not an age thing, but that is one of the complexes I struggle with. So I can talk more about that. But I'm like, I'm 26 and I forget what her age was, but it's so weird to be like getting older and be like, she's so much younger than me. But anyways, I was inspired by Olivia Rodrigo's boobs. So shout out to Olivia Rodrigo and her boobs. That is why we're recording this episode today. I have struggled with feeling sexy, allowing myself to be sexy, dress sexy. It wasn't always like this. Growing up definitely had a bit more of like a kick to me, like a spice, I guess, especially in high school and in college, you know, when there was like a college party and we were dressing as schoolgirls, like I was right there dressing like a slutty schoolgirl. Like I was in it. I think I had confidence with guys and like crushes and pursuing them. I definitely had confidence in like myself and what I brought to the table. It's so wild to be in a place now where I feel like I don't have that anymore. I really feel like the reason is, it's a few things, but I think the biggest thing was recovering and healing from my binge eating. I had to kind of separate myself from my body. And so I did a lot of you're more than your body and let's be body neutral and let's not even focus on our bodies. I don't weigh myself. I'm like, I'm not going to look at my body in the mirror. You know, I stopped mirror checking. I stopped just looking at my body as an object or a thing at all. I tried to just pretend like I don't have a body. Let me just be my head and my mind. And that was very helpful when I was recovering from all my body image issues and my issues with food. So I don't have regrets about that. However, when you're practicing something like body neutrality, which for anyone who's not familiar with that, essentially, instead of viewing your body as good or bad, you just view it as a body and you just find gratitude for the fact that it is a body and it allows you to do these amazing things in life, but you don't actually look at it and compliment the way it looks. So I think I really did create that separation between myself and being in my skin. What happened as a result of that is I also lost touch with being in my body in the good ways, like in the divine feminine energy ways where you feel in touch with your sexuality and like your sexiness. It wasn't until I did my boudoir shoot before my wedding. So a boudoir shoot is, I don't know the like exact definition. It's called a boudoir shoot, but you take like sexy hot pics for your partner and then you give it to them on your wedding. And I'd like always wanted to do one. Once again, back to my younger self who used to like love watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show. Like I, if anything, was at 14 or 15, like thinking about what it means to look and be sexy, although it ended up becoming very toxic. So I'm doing the boudoir shoot and I remember feeling so nervous. I'm going to pose in lingerie in front of this camera. I feel so awkward. And like, how do I don't know how to not smile in pictures. I feel like I'm just like a bubbly type, cheery type, not like a sultry, sexy, like model face. I'm doing this photo shoot and I loved my photographer, Margot. I've actually had her on the podcast. That was one of the fun episodes I did, kind of introducing this topic into the Real Pod sphere. It was a pretty changing experience in the sense that I was looking at the photos like, wait, I'm hot. Like, I can serve. Like, wow, like, this is what I look like. Like, I like it. And that was empowering and it was great. But then I also felt like once I sort of opened that door in my mind, I was thinking more about my body, and I was like looking at my boobs and looking at my butt. And then that criticism started to come back in of like, well, are my boobs flat and are they sagging? And I have stretch marks when I have cleavage. And is my butt as big and strong as it used to be when I was lifting weights? So I almost felt like starting to think about my body again, let those thoughts creep in. And so now I've been trying to figure out, how am I going to be in my own skin and feel sexy? Because I want to. I really feel like I know myself and I'm going to have regrets. I'm going to be later on in my life when things aren't looking the same, and I probably will see like a young hot girl walk by absolutely slaying as she should and be like, why, when I was her age, did I not wear the short skirt or pull my tits up, you know? And I feel very tied to being a quote role model and being someone that people look to. And I know that my platform started very tied to the important topic of mental health, which I still care about deeply. But a part of my mind trips me up when I think about the college coaches or the dads who found me 3 years ago and are like, you're such a good role model for my daughter or for the girls that I coach. And then all of a sudden I'm going to be dropping this sexy episode of Real Pod talking about what I'm talking about. I'm like thinking of them listening like it's not my normal content. I get held back because I'm afraid to post because of some of those people, and also like family. Like, I love my yaya. She's not going to listen. She doesn't listen to Real Pod. Isn't that like, that's like a random little thing. Like, whether, I don't know if she gets like listening and not seeing something, but she doesn't listen, which is kind of nice because she sees everything else I do and she responds to it. And if I post anything remotely like sexy or seductive, or like, she's just very old fashioned, so she'll send me a message. Like, I literally posted the thing about Olivia Rodrigo being like, okay, queen, and my yaya sent me a message back like, no need to show boobs or skin, like modesty wins, you know, some sort of like old fashioned like DM. I mean, she's in her late 80s. And I think that comes in my head is I'm like, okay, Yaya would see it. Would my older brother see it? I mean, at that point, I'm past it. Like, I'm married. Clearly, I'm not like your little sister who's like never had sex or never done all those things. I definitely think I get bogged down by that. And then the third thing I'll say is I get very uncomfortable when I'm being sexualized by other people who I don't want to sexualize me. So, for example, even today, I wore this sexy outfit. Okay, I came for the show. I thought I had to feel the vibes. I'm wearing like a tall leather boot. It's a heel. I've got on a very short skirt. Like, sitting is impossible in this skirt. That's how tiny it is. I wore a bodysuit. I wore, you know, a nice little push-up bra, get the girls up. And I feel like I got into the Uber today and I'm like self-conscious. Like, is he watching me walk to the Uber? Like, who does this bitch think she is? And then I'm walking in the place where I'm getting lunch and this like guy who's serving coffee behind the counter, I see him like look at my boobs and I'm like, okay, that's uncomfortable. So those things like I really don't like. I don't also like walking in front of people and thinking they're looking at my butt. I'm very uncomfortable when I'm being sexualized by like creepy dudes, honestly, to just like put a label on it. That is something that keeps me and holds me back. Although Margot said on our episode together something that was really eye-opening, which was just, if I'm going to not be who I want to be or dress who I want to dress because of the way that a guy is going to view it or make me feel, it's like a lose-lose because I don't get to live my truth and I don't get to dress how I want. And so I want to like take my power back and I can dress the way that I want. I can try to dress sexy because it makes me feel some type of way, and I can't control how other creepy men are going to look at me or if they're going to say things. And like, that is just unfortunately comes with the territory. I mean, that's kind of an introductory rant. Christiana, any thoughts on what I should say next?
Yeah.
My producer is Mike today, which we love.
Definitely. Mic'd in the sense that I'm holding my phone and talking into it. I think the most important thing that you said that's really standing out to me is that you think your yaya has never listened to the radio or has never used the phone. I I'm sorry. I'm
Wait,
so caught up in the idea of you're like, my yaya doesn't understand the idea of listening to things without looking at them. I'm like, she for sure listened to like War of the Worlds on the radio or something when she was a kid.
Well, I know. I don't know why she can't get through real. You know what it is? I actually feel bad. I don't want to like harp on my yaya, but I think a lot of these mental health topics, it's just not her generation. And it's like very hard for her to imagine like me having a problem in my life.
1,000%. 1,000%. I think ultimately too, your yaya, reaching out and saying something to the effect of like, oh, modesty is key and you can accomplish these same things without showing your body, sort of suggests to me that ultimately she thinks that, I think maybe what a lot of people think, which is that when a woman is dressing in a way that feels sexy to her, she's giving something away instead of, making choices and decisions for herself, or she's having something taken from her. When instead, a lot of times when somebody is dressing sexy, man or woman, right, they're doing that because it makes them feel good. They're not giving away something that has like a finite resource,
I'm so glad you brought this up because it's making me think of something. And I don't even remember if it was Yaya who told me this or my grandma, who is my mom's dad, who's no longer with us. But it is this story of basically, I literally remember being like 11 and one of my grandmothers being like, Victoria, you can be two types of cups in this world. You can be a styrofoam cup who gets used and thrown away and isn't cared about, or you can be a china cup who is only taken out and used in the very most important moments and is really delicate. You're treated like china, the way you treat a styrofoam cup versus a china cup. And that became like a big thing. Like I really attached to stories like that. And I remember thinking like, I want to be a china cup. I was very prude and modest growing up. I did not sleep with a lot of people. It was like really hard for me to be intimate because I think of these beliefs of like, that would mean I'm a slut, or that would mean I'm a whore, or that would mean I am styrofoam, and I really had this like moral tie to, I thought it would be better to act in this more modest way. I want to say that I think it did impact me a lot and like has an effect now. But I also want to just say like, I have a lot of friends who are very different than me, and I am so here for them. Like, I don't judge them. I don't shame them. I have friends. It's, you bring one guy up, say goodbye to him, and the next one comes over 20 minutes later. And I'm like, get it, girl? I love that for you. And I love listening and I love hearing all about it. It wasn't me for a few reasons, but I just think another reason is I'm like really weird about being intimate and like knowing people deeply, and I can't just do that with everyone. It's a mix of the stereotypes, but then also myself as a person. It's not like I wanted to hook up with a lot of guys and I didn't because I was worried about what people would think. I literally didn't want to, but I also think I had this in the background thought of, oh, and I'm so glad I am that way because it makes me a china cup. Do you know what I mean?
I do. And what's so interesting too about that china cup story is the comparison is between two things that are meant to be used by other people. Neither of those things, neither of the objects in that story, which are both objects, are things that or beings that have any sort of internal motivation, no sort of desires. It's not like choose who you want to be. It's choose how you want to get used by other people, which is already like a flawed premise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There is nothing wrong with wanting attention. There is nothing wrong with wanting to have sex. Those are both human desires, and I hate that it gets leveled so often at women like, oh, she's only doing that because she wants attention. Dude, yeah, absolutely. I love attention. It's great.
Yeah.
Like, why is that something that is so frequently leveled at women?
And just the more that these types of conversations happen and we start to question things, literally the other day, Max and I were, I don't even know what we were doing. And sometimes we'll randomly throw out like baby names. Not that that's happening anytime soon, but it's just fun. And I was like, oh, how about this name? And he was like, oh, I like that name, but there was a girl like that in my high school who slept with the entire football team, or so he said something like that. And I was like, okay, what about, and I named one of his friends who probably slept with the entire volleyball team. I'm like, do you view him as like less than? Because like if he got with all those girls, you guys are like, oh, sick dude, like how many girls on the team did you get with? Meanwhile, like this sweet girl with a beautiful name, you're like, oh no, like she got with too many guys. And I love Max because he was like, he stood in silence, he nodded his head and he said, you're completely right. Like, it's catching ourselves in these patterns of how women are supposed to act and supposed to be. And I think it does make it really hard for me because that voice in my mind thinks promiscuous, trashy, slut, whore, because I honestly think we grew up in the time that was like really apparent. I almost feel like for my grandma and my mom, they were even maybe more in like the 70s, 80s, like having that revolution in a way. And then I think in like the 90s, it was like when Vanessa Hudgens' nudes were leaked, everyone was like passing them around and sending them and like, Vanessa Hudgens is a slut, like her nudes were leaked. Meanwhile, now I'm older and I'm like, who the fuck leaked these? And as she should send those to the person that she's with, like if she wants to, you know, I completely think about that situation differently.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I remember too, like, do you remember this when, like, the literal day after Emma Watson turned 18, Paps, like, fell over themselves trying to get and successfully got, like, a crotch shot of her that they immediately leaked, to where it made me realize, I'm like, oh, it doesn't even matter whether or not the woman takes them herself. Like, the world is basically just looking for any opportunity it can take to bring women down, especially if they are women who, in Vanessa Hudgens' case, who like sex, want to be sexy, want to share it with their partners, what have you. But even in cases of people like Emma Watson, who was very much styled, at least for years, as like the good girl, the goodest girl, right? She was refined, polite, intelligent. She still is all of those things, but they just waited for the second she turned 18 to quote unquote try and like demolish her image.
Which is so gross. And we think about even now, I mean, we're seeing so much resurfacing, even like the old Britney videos of like her SNL thing with her boobs. Like, I mean, it's like really hard to watch nowadays. But something that I love that you said is, and she's still all those things, a complex and a narrative in my mind that I need to work through is I can be a role model and a mental health advocate and a great podcaster and a smart woman and post a thirst trap.
Speak on it.
Like, why do I think I can't be all of that? You know, it's so hard. And I feel like the voice in my head says that I can't. Another thing that comes up for me, and maybe this goes back to your wanting attention thing, is like, let's say I do want to post a thirst trap. Like, I want to look sexy and I want to share that I look sexy. I can already see hate comments being like, well, why do you have to post it? If it's really for you, why are you putting it on the internet? You know?
1,000%. And the hate comments too are always coming from people who are not comfortable with their own bodies, are not comfortable with their own relationship to sex, which understandably is a lot of people. It's most people, because obviously, like, we are raised in a society. We live in a society where pretty much everyone is still being taught a lot of those same messages. It's a lot to break free from. And I think I've definitely seen, like, in my lifetime, you know, the way that we talk about girls 10 years ago versus now has dramatically changed, thank God. But there's still a lot to break free from, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's real. Obviously, there are things that it's okay for me to have boundaries on and like things I don't want to talk about publicly. But even like saying the word sex on this podcast feels like I'm sinning.
You are. No, you are.
Like, it's so weird. Well, I know I'm never going to be someone who wants to talk publicly about my sex life or that. It's just not something I want to do publicly. I'm so open about that with my friends and have those conversations with people in my life. But yeah, I guess that is a thing. I think it's also maybe weird for me to come across something I don't want to share publicly because I am so willing to share everything else publicly. It is just such a sensitive topic for everyone. It's so layered. And obviously I have a lot that I need to like uncover myself and work on, but I know I'm not the only one. And I actually posted on Instagram today asking you all to just share any questions that you had, comments, thoughts on the topic so that I could kind of use those as guiding points. So I'm going to pull that up. Oh my gosh, so funny. The first thing I'm reading is struggles with embracing sexy when you're very close to your fam and they're very conservative. Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on that and it is tough, but I feel like at the end of the day, and I come back to this a lot, whether we're talking about this topic of sexiness or something else, I think the most powerful thing you can do in your life is be true to who you are. If that means like dressing sexier or being sexier, at the end of the day, you're being true to who you are. And I think that that is going to allow you to then be the best version of yourself and like live your best life. And I believe that that's what you should do. And I need to take my own advice there as well. Here's another one: how to handle when your family finds anything sexy very inappropriate. I'm grateful that I don't have that. When I was young, even Lainey would like throw me in a crop top and be like, have fun at the concert. So it's not like the shame comes from my family or from religion. I mean, I would say a little bit from my grandma's, but that's it.
So wait, would you say that it's self-imposed for you to some extent? Like society, but self-imposed?
I think I might get confused with how much of it is societal and then how much of it, I do think a lot of it is really from the body image food issues. Like seriously, I don't think if I did the way that I had to stop caring about what my body looked like, I think really turned off the connection to the sexiness. Because when I was in college, I felt very sexy. Like I thought that I knew what I was doing and I loved dressing hot, posting a sexy photo. I really feel like the biggest reason was that I've had to detach so much from my body, and then trying to feel sexy again. I feel like I have to look in the mirror and be like, yeah, my body looks hot. And it's really hard for me to be thinking about my body in that way, because if you invite the positive thoughts in, of course the negative is going to come. That's anything in life. You can't have positive without negative. So I'm trying to figure out how I can look at myself in the mirror and get hyped up and think I'm sexy and I'm hot, and then also not criticize myself, because it invites it in.
Absolutely. That's interesting. Because I think looking in the mirror is a big one. What other practices have you kind of put in place for yourself? It sounds like putting together outfits that make you feel hot has been part of it.
Yes, I like putting together a great outfit and trying to push the boundaries there and trying to take up space. I feel like even today I'm wearing these big tall heeled boots, and sometimes wearing heels as a tall person, or you know, having an outfit that like really goes there, and then walking around and feeling like, oh my God, I'm not actually disappearing. Like in this outfit, I'm like drawing attention, I'm drawing the eye. And like, I think women can feel uncomfortable with that. And like, we just need to be reserved and we need to be chill, and that we're being judged in so many ways. So we're like constantly thinking about how can I be judged? And then how can I like counter that and not be annoying in any way, or not try to be a pick me girl, right? It's like we're trying so hard to like sense and pick up what like the world's gonna judge us as every day. And I think I've been trying to like lean more into what I want, whether that's dressing, honestly, the makeup. I've gotten super into makeup. I love putting on makeup. I love getting my makeup done. Especially when I was playing sports, you know, my nails weren't painted. I wasn't wearing jewelry. I wouldn't put jeans on. I barely did my hair. I barely put on makeup. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't look back and have regrets, because I don't even know when I would have fit in doing my makeup for the day to wipe it all off at 1 o'clock for volleyball and then put it back on for class. That wasn't happening. It's kind of where I'm at now with like exploring it more. And I think what I've really learned a lot from Ella, who's one of my best friends, and I know you all probably love and know Ella Halikas. She's a Sports Illustrated model. She is the queen of confidence. She just elicits it and owns it, and it's really helped to give me this permission. Even when I put my boots on today, I was like, this is such an Ella thing. Like Ella would fucking slay like this, and I feel uncomfortable like popping off like this, because I would usually put on a sneaker, tuck my hair behind my ears, and just try to be a bit more chill. I think those things have helped, and also just the like believing it. I think when it comes to intimacy and like being with your partner, I try to think of it in the other way. There's not a thing Max could do, a sound he could make, a way he could look, a pimple somewhere on his body that would make me love him less. If anything, if there was any like imperfection on Max at a given moment, it would make me think he was cuter and I would love him more. Even sometimes the gross things where it's like a guy's grossness, I still love him to death, and that's not changing how I feel about him. And so I try to flip the script and remind myself that he feels the same way about me. If anything, way farther. He's got way more goggles. So I try to tell myself, own your body, own your sexiness, own the energy. And like, of course, there's not a thing you could do that your husband is gonna not be attracted to you or think you're weird or make fun of you or laugh at you, because I would never do those things to him. And so why am I acting like I need to be so afraid when I'm around Max? You know?
Absolutely, I do. I truly do.
Christiana has a Max, everyone.
I have a Max.
Like, so literally, funny. His name is Max.
His name is also Max, and he's also 6'5".
I love it. Those are literally a rare breed, and they're the best breed.
Yeah, and he's also super into football like your Max as well. I think they would both probably extremely enjoy being coaches or general managers of a sports team.
Yeah, no, we need to do the double date soon.
Yeah, and also I definitely would love to see if you and your Max, because I did do this to mine, did the Travis Kelce test, the Taylor Swift put him on the map test. Oof.
Oh my gosh, I didn't do it because Max, like, he's a full Swiftie. He would be like, give me a logical answer, like, of course, or according to the mainstream media, but not according to football. Like, I knew he wouldn't get worked up because he's such a Swiftie. Another thing that comes up for me, and you guys, I'm looking at your questions, but honestly, it's a lot about what I'm talking about now, so I feel good that we're hitting it. In the book I'm reading with Aubrey, A New Earth, on my spinoff limited series podcast, So Much to Say, there's this part in one of the chapters talking about the female pain body. And it's essentially how way back in the day, like if we think about history, how any women who were in touch with their sexuality or sleeping around, I'm like butchering it, but like think about what the whole witch hunt thing. It was like any feminine energy or any female that like stuck out from the crowd was literally murdered. That, after years and years and years and years, is gonna stay. Like, you know, when you think about having intuition or like a gut feeling, like that's part of the collective female pain body. And also, I think we've seen this discussed in mainstream media recently, is the patriarchy versus femininity, and how like literally men and some really conservative people like can't even handle, well, I don't know if I want to take it here, but do you know what I'm saying?
I guess it depends on how political you want to get, but like you can definitely say that the consequences of having like this disdain for femininity we've seen has resulted in the upheaval and overturning of Roe v. Wade. It's also, we see that clash continued in like a lot of popular movies today, and in the way that some people have reacted to Taylor Swift's success, however you want to say it.
Yes, that retweet. I think, knowing that and recognizing like how it is a whole system and it's a bigger thing than just us, I think has some comfort, because then I feel less like I'm the problem or I can't feel sexy, and more so recognize the environment that we're in that is making it hard for a lot of women to really, step into that. Ooh, someone just added a comment. They said, lingerie goes a long way, makes me feel so hot. I completely agree with this. And I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this from my Instagram stories, but I was wearing, oh my God, this is another thing. All of my underwear is nude. You know why it's nude? Because growing up, Lainey would be like, make sure your bra straps are nude, because if you can see them or they're colored, that's tacky. Literally. So growing up, I was like terrified to have a bra strap showing or a colored bra. And all of my lingerie, I will not even call it lingerie. All of my literal granny panties and bras are skin color. And I was at Max's parents' house over the holidays last year. And I remember sweet Cheryl, my mother-in-law, did our laundry. So nice of her. And I remember like going to grab my bra, and I like went to grab it. And then I realized that it was hers. And then I had this quiet moment of, Victoria, the fact that you thought that your bra was your mother-in-law's, no hate to Cheryl, she still got it and she's a beautiful queen. I was like, okay, like we could be pushing the boundaries a little bit more here. A little bit more, just a little. And so from that moment, I've been like trying, what do I have on today? I have on like more of a bronzy type color, which is better. I completely agree. Literally, actually, Max and I went on a little getaway recently, and I went out of my way to purposely pack like this lingerie bodysuit I just got from Aritzia. And you know what? It dual plays. Not only is it a lingerie piece, but I could wear it with jeans. And in fact, I want to. And are people going to look at it and think, oh my God, is that literally underwear? Like, who cares? But I definitely agree. I think lingerie goes a long way, and I think you feel good about it, whether it's for someone else or it's just for you. Like when you wake up in the morning and you have a matching bra and a matching thong and a little lace or a little bow on it, and then you put your clothes on top of it, like you might feel sexy.
I actually have one more thing to add to this lingerie moment. As you mentioned, you went on vacation and you packed something special. If you're just getting into lingerie or just getting into dressing sexier, vacation is an excellent opportunity to try out something that'll push you a little bit out of your comfort zone, because if it's something that you're going to wear while you're on vacation, either it's just going to be you and your partner and you can debut it there, or if it's something you want to wear out, nobody knows you. Be as bold as you want. There are no social consequences.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
I love that. And also you feel a little bit better, because I think sometimes our egos can be very fragile. If you like tried to surprise your partner wearing something when they got home and they were like, what are you doing? Like, and you have that little awkward banter of like, this is so out of the norm. Whereas like when you're on a vacation or you're somewhere else, it is like more of that equal territory where you're not in the routine. So I love that point. And then the next thing that I was going to say too is someone commented, often it is liberating to take longer to get ready after a shower. And like, I completely agree. When I'm getting ready for a date night with Max, can I have a little glass of rosé? Can I be playing sexy music? I love sexy music. Something else that Margot told me off air, you guys, you need to listen to the Margot episode if you're enjoying this, because that was a great episode. When she takes a shower, she's like, I take a shower and I don't just get in and get out. Like I feel the water on my skin and I soap my legs and it's like you start to feel yourself and like take that time to get in touch with your body. No mirror involved, no judgment involved, but like really being present in your skin and noticing how the water feels and like slowing that stuff down. And I love it. And I also think music is big. There are some songs that you hear and you're just like, this makes me feel sexy. It makes me want to be sexy. One of my favorite songs for that is Freaky Deaky by Doja Cat. I've been feeling freaky deaky. It's just such a good song. And that was my hype up song for my boudoir shoot, in case you were curious. Ooh. Okay, someone actually did say, and this is hard for me to talk about, this is like past my boundary, but I do want to just say this for everyone out there. This person said, freeing yourself in sparkles sexy time, not feeling self-conscious, overthinking it. I know what you're saying, but I think just like being present, being confident. Actually, I had read this differently. I thought this person was referring to like alone sexy time. I thought that's why they put it that way. It seems like maybe this is with a partner. I just need to say this. It has to be said. When I hear about a friend or a friend of a friend or a person who's never had the opportunity or been able to
I know what you're going to say, and it makes me cry.
No, literally, I think you guys can read between the lines. It is illegal. Like it is possible for you. It is possible for you. You just need to keep trying, need to keep adjusting, go back to the drawing board. Like that is one of the things that actually breaks my heart. We talk about the ways like women are oppressed, like women not being allowed to experience pleasure or feel pleasure, or the girls that I know who like men are using them for pleasure and they're not experiencing any of it. Hurts my heart. And it's important for mental health. It's important for wellness. It's natural. It's a part of being human. I just have to go on record and say, if that is you and you've never experienced it before, which is totally normal, and I know so many people, you are not alone. It is more than you think. Please do not give up on yourself.
Seriously, no, don't give up on yourself. It's one of the best things about being human.
Yeah.
It really is. It's wonderful. You deserve it. Truly, you deserve it. It doesn't matter whether or not you do it with a partner, but it would be great to start with yourself. And then that'll help you build your relationship with yourself, which when you have a good relationship with yourself, trust me, you are a bang-a-rang time in the sack.
Okay. I love that you're here to really just throw in the actual comments. Love that. You guys, I'm at baby steps, okay? I'm sorry if I'm sounding taboo. It still feels taboo for me. So, this is literally episode 1. Hopefully I'll listen back to this in a year and be like, oh my God, that was so cute and funny. Oh, someone said this, how to not feel awkward. I'm married, and when I try to act sexy, I feel awkward and uncomfortable. I relate to that. I definitely relate to that as well. And someone else said like how to initiate more, or how to communicate. And Someone that I love to follow is actually Sex with Emily. She's a great follow. Christiana, do you know her?
I do.
Yeah, she's a good account. So I would follow Sex with Emily. She also has a podcast. But something that she says is to have these conversations like outside of the bedroom at a time where it's even playing ground. No one feels like they're going to be insulted. It's a very sensitive topic. So like if you're literally hooking up with your partner and then you say like, actually, I prefer this or I don't like that, like they could feel like it's in the moment. It's hard. So I remember one time like Max and I were on a walk and like we brought it up and then we were able to talk about like, where are we at? How are we feeling? What do we want? I think that is the best way to do it and talk about any of these things so that you can share like, I'm struggling to feel sexy. And maybe they'd say, oh my gosh, babe, what? You're the sexiest person ever. Like, I can't believe you feel that way. Or maybe they'd say, oh my gosh, me too. I think the biggest thing is to have the conversation outside of the bedroom and also to have it from the perspective of we. You're together talking about this thing as opposed to it's someone else's fault or you need more from them. I honestly feel like for a lot of, not this past year because I kind of had this revelation like a year ago, but I've been slowly working on it. But I used to think like, you know, everything was Max's fault. I'd be like, Max, you have to make me feel this way. You have to do this. If I wasn't feeling sexy, I thought it was on him. Like my husband, or at the time, my boyfriend, fiance should make me feel sexy. And I realized, no, it's not on him. I am responsible for how I feel, my own confidence. So I think when you have this conversation, you want to talk about it like, hey, here's this thing. Here's what I'm struggling with. Here's where I'd like it to be. Here are my thoughts. What do you think? What are you struggling with? What are your thoughts? And having that team mindset. And I think that goes for like all tough conversations, you know, in a couple.
The way that this has been framed to me, and it truly changed every aspect of my life, but especially in relationships, is it's always us versus the problem, not me versus you.
Yes, I love it. Us versus the problem. All right, we are almost on time. So the very last thing I'll read from one of you is how do we begin this journey? How to claim your sexiness, teach the gals. Okay, I think this is just the perfect place to end. Like, where do we go from here? I think some little challenges you can give yourself are wearing something a bit more promiscuous than you'd usually wear, listening to some of that sexy music, having that little glass of wine to take the edge off, or having a great call with one of your close friends where you can kind of feel like you can let this off your chest and get some advice. I think for me, I am going to try to slowly overcome the discomfort I have by little exposures. And I think that's the answer for everything in life, right? Even wearing the outfit that I wore all day today, which I'll post on the Real Pod Instagram today so you can see it, feels like a big step for me. Or not a big step, but like it's something, you know, it's more that it's me trying. And I think doing this once, then next time I won't hesitate to grab the tall boots and the mini skirt. So I think seeing where you can like slowly push your boundaries and push your limits so that you can begin these exposures and start to feel more comfortable about it. One other thing that just goes for anything in life is trying to catch yourself judging yourself and trying to quiet that voice. I feel like especially with this, that judgment is going to come in. It's going to make statements like, you shouldn't do that. You look this way. You're not this. You know, this is embarrassing. This, that. When you catch that judgment, it's so sneaky, and remind yourself, I'm not going to judge. I'm just going to experience. I'm just going to try something new. And so trying to quiet that shaming voice, I think will go a long way. But I love this for us. We're all on our sexy journey. Sexy journey officially starts today. Let's go. Hopefully I'll do another episode like this soon, giving you an update. I think especially around the holidays, like, this is the perfect time, you know. Well, that's kind of a lie.
When you're home with your family?
Hot girl summer would have been the perfect time. Hey, everyone. Hot girl summer just ended, but here's your advice.
It's time for hot girl autumn.
I think hot girl autumn is a thing.
I think it is.
Okay,
no,
that's
tall
what we're
boots,
doing.
short skirts. We're doing it.
Hot girl autumn. Okay. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Real Pod. Love you all, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Real Pod. If this hit home or helped you in some way, send it to a friend, a teammate, roomie. Share the love, share the realness. New episodes of Real Pod come out every single Wednesday. So make sure you are subscribed to this podcast so you never miss an episode.